we'll be starting with the chapter Universal Franchise and India's Electoral System. So, India adopted the principle of adult franchise with an abundant faith in the common man and the ultimate success of democratic rule. Never before in the history of the world has such an experiment been so boldly undertaken. So, this was a statement given by Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer on November 1949 Constituent Assembly debates. So, here is trying to say that India has adopted the principle of adult franchise with an abundant faith in the common man as well as the ultimate success of democratic rule. So, someone wouldn't adopt such an adult franchise. So we'll be studying about it in this chapter. But for now, understand his as an adult franchise, that is the voting for people, and such a thing is given to the people by having abundant faith, abundant in the sense lots of faith in the common man, the person who votes. Also, they believed in the ultimate success of the democratic rule. They believed in democracy, and never before in the history of the world such an experiment has been so boldly undertaken. So we have taken such an experiment so boldly that it has never happened in the history of the world. So in this chapter, we'll be primarily undertaking these three main questions, that is, what is universal adult franchise, and what is an electoral system, and how does India's electoral system work. So first, what is this adult franchise and what is an electoral system? So how are the elections done and all these things, and how does this work in India? So this is all what we are going to study in this chapter. So first, starting with the main objective, that is universal adult franchise. So the constitution makers have thought that universal adult franchise could be a feature of Indian democracy right from the outset. So franchise in the sense a right granted by the constitution or a government. So another term is used, suffrage, which is a synonym of franchise. So we can also say the adult suffrage. So it is a synonym to the franchise. So what is actually? It is a right granted by the constitution or the government. Franchise in the sense it is a right granted. So we have to remember that franchise whose synonym is suffrage, which means it is the grant which is given by the constitution or the government. So this means that every adult citizen would get an vote. So every adult would get one vote. Adult in the sense someone who has crossed 18 years of age. They have completed 18 years, they become adult. So whoever is an adult, each adult will get one vote. It is not that rich will get many votes, the poor will get. No, it's not like that. Each and every individual would get one vote. And all the voters have equal value. So all the votes have equal value. So for suppose if a rich person votes, it means that it is 3 to 4 votes. It is not like that. Each and every person, whichever the individual may be, one individual, one vote, and one vote has equal value. Each vote has equal value. And hence, every Indian citizen who is aged 18 and above has the right to vote, irrespective of their caste, creed, race, religion, gender, education, income, whatever the reason may be. Each person who has crossed 18 or is 18 years old will have the right to vote. So irrespective of the caste, whichever caste they belong, whatever the color, whatever race, whatever religion, whatever the income, whatever the reasons might be, each and every person will get their vote if they are a citizen of this country. So the word universal connotes this. So connote in the sense it implies this. Universal in the sense in a whole, universal. So this is universal adult franchise, that is every person, every adult will get this voting right. So the universal franchise is the cornerstone of Indian democracy. So obviously vote would be the cornerstone of Indian democracy. So any democracy will start with voting. So universal franchise is the cornerstone of Indian democracy. And elections to the Lok Sabha, that is the legislative assembly of every state and union territory, and all the local elections in villages and the cities are based on the universal franchise. And Article 326 of the Constitution. So the universal franchise is cited in Article 326. There is the mention of adult franchise, and there are elections conducted to the Lok Sabha, that is the legislative assembly of every state and union territory, and all the local elections. The Panchayati Raj we already studied, you people already studied in class 6 about the urban and the local grassroots democracy, all these things. So the local elections in the villages and cities are based on this universal adult franchise, that is Article 326 of the Constitution. And remember that no one can vote on another's behalf. So if an individual is there, only that individual can represent and vote. No others can take his right of voting and vote in place of him. This will not happen. Every individual, even if the other individual is a relative or whatever the reason might be, that individual is only responsible for his vote and he have to be there to vote. And so can you calculate how long you have to wait before you can vote? So if you calculate for your age now, you're in 8th grade. That means what is your present age? It is around 13 years. So to become 18, it will at least take you some 5 to 6 years. So you have to wait that long to vote. And you will be able to exercise your right, and you need to be registered as a voter in your constituency. So wherever you are living in that constituency, you will be able to register your vote after you have turned 18. And however, one is barred from voting if he is found guilty of committing certain serious crimes. So obviously every individual will be given right to vote, but some will not be given their right to vote if they are found to be guilty in some very serious crimes. So if it's such a serious crime, then only they will be taken away from their right of voting. And do you remember India had a general election in summer of 2024? That is about 980 million voters were eligible to exercise their franchise for the 543 constituencies of the Lok Sabha. So it is important to remember that we have 543. 543 is easy to remember this number. Constituencies of the Lok Sabha. So constituencies, you know what are constituencies already. Constituency is an area whose voters elect a representative to a legislative body. So the whole of a place, if you have a very big city, the whole of the city can't elect one person. So the whole will be divided into constituencies so that it will be easy for the people to manage and take up their problems. The representatives will also be able to identify the problems more easily, and they'll have the connection with the common people. Then they'll understand the public affairs more easily if the area is reduced. And you people remember the general elections which had happened in summer 2024 as well. So we need an elaborate and well-organized system to manage this massive exercise and ensure that elections takes place fairly and freely, because we are such a big country and we have these many million voters. That is, we have 980 million voters. There are 980 million voters. That is of the count of 2024. It may increase enough. It's subject to increase. 980 million voters. And to conduct elections for such big number, you have to be well organized and it has to be managed properly, and it is also that it has to take place fairly and freely. So it is not that there are some malpractices which are happening in the elections. So if malpractice is happening, there is no point in conducting elections itself. So in this chapter, we'll briefly explore who can vote and a few types of elections we have and the electoral system and how it is organized. So what is a system? A group or interconnected or interdependent elements that work together to achieve a common purpose or a function. So that is what is called as a system. So here we can see the importance of universal and franchise in a democracy, and you can add the two reasons which you think after reading all these things, what sites in your brain. So why is it? Why is the universal and franchise preferred by people? Because everyone is equal and everyone's voice matters, and the elected representatives are answerable to the electorate, and the foster civic engagement, fosters instead, it enhances or it makes civic engagement and the power to determine one's future. It is in our hands about our future. And there will be no discrimination based on caste, creed, or the gender, education, and wealth, and all can participate in actually shaping our nation's future, and people vote them out in the elections, and people will they decide what type of future they want and who can best represent them, and people participate in solving the problems in their area. So you can write or fill up these blanks. So now, bridging barriers, enabling participation, ensuring universal franchise. So the democracy thrives when every eligible citizen can freely and fairly participate in the electoral process. So if everybody is able to participate in the electoral process, then only the best of the democracy will be reaching us. So voting in elections is a powerful way for people to express their will. So voting will express the wills, whatever they wanted to happen, they wanted to represent them, who they think would be a better person for them. And how does this take place in India? So India is a large, diverse and a complex country. So obviously we follow unity in diversity, but the diversity is so huge that it will be difficult for them to manage. So we are large, diverse and a complex country. And to illustrate the population of the eligible voters in India is 15 times the population of United Kingdoms in terms of area. And in terms of area, India is the 6 times larger than France. So here you can illustrate how much difficult it is to manage these all things, elections and taking democracy forward in India, because we can see that UK has certain number of voters, and that in India we have 15 times that of UK. So in India, the eligible voters are 15 times that of the population of UK, not the eligible voters of UK, it is the population of UK. So the eligible voters in India are 15 times the population of UK. So here it is population, and the next comparison is based on area. That is, India is 6 times larger than France. So these are the equations you can remember. This is here that this is referring to the voters in India, eligible voters in India is 15 times that of population of UK, and here based on area, India is 6 times larger in comparison to France. And the geographic diversity is a challenge too. And thus elections in India need to be organized taking this complexity into account. We are so vast, either in number or in area. So we have to take all the criteria to conduct the elections smoothly. So the Election Commission of India is the one which organizes elections in India. So the Election Commission of India would conduct elections in India. Obviously, where would they conduct? Election Commission of India would conduct elections in India itself. So we'll learn more about the Election Commission in the later chapter. So later in this chapter itself. So for now, remember that they organize elections in India, and the ECI, the Election Commission of India, in short, in this chapter we'll be referring to as the ECI, has taken several innovative accessibility measures to remove barriers to exercising the franchise and ensure no voter is left behind. So they've taken such several innovative accessibility measures to remove the barriers and to exercise the franchise and ensure no voter is left behind. So they have made the process of registering and all these things more better, so that it will be that no voter will be left behind. And the electoral officials travel to remote villages to ensure every citizen can exercise democratic rights. So we can see that in the rural areas, the people will be less aware about their rights. So the electoral officials even go to the remote areas and try to say their rights and ensure that everyone exercises the democratic right, the voting right. So in 2024, for the first time, the elderly and the people with disabilities could cast their votes from home itself. So in 2025, for the first time, they have conducted for the elderly people and the people who can't reach the polling booths, they can vote from homes itself, and the postal voting opinion was available for a specific category of voters as well. So they can also do the postal voting option is also there for a specific category. And the assistive technologies like Braille enabled voter cards and app based requests for assistance, including wheelchairs and ramps, are also made possible. So we can see that in 2024, few people were given permission to vote from their home itself. So votes from home are also allowed. They can cast their votes. That is the elderly and the people who can't reach the polling booth. And also the postal voting system was also provided for a specific category of voters. And the assistive technologies like Braille enabled voter cards for the people who are specially challenged, and app-based requests for assistance, including the provision of wheelchairs and ramps for people, were also made available. So here the elderlies are coming and voting. So this is reference for you. So now I'll be starting with the role of Election Commission of India. So we have seen the size and diversity that needs to be kept in mind in the organization of the election process in India. So in this section, we will look at the different types of elections that the Election Commission of India organizes and oversees. So you have such great eligible voter number and we are large in area. So you have seen that it is difficult and there have to be different aspects taken into consideration during the election process. So first we'll be looking into the different types of elections that the EC organizes and oversees. So basically, there are two of the elections that the ECI manages, and we will see more in the later sections. However, before we get a glimpse of the election process, let us get introduced to the Election Commission of India, the institution that oversees it. So, the Election Commission of India is a independent constitutional body responsible for conducting free and fair elections, and it is established in the year 1950 and conducts elections of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state legislative assemblies in India, and the offices of president and the vice president. So here we can see that it was established in the year 1950. And where will it conduct the elections? It conducts elections for the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the state legislatives, and also in the office of the president and the vice president of India. So these are all the things which the Election Commission of India will do. That is, conduct elections in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, the state legislatives, and the president and the vice president. And the first general elections in independent India were held in 1951 and 1952. So it was established in 1950 and the first general elections were held in the year 1951 to 1952. So here, the Election Commission of India performs crucial tasks like setting the election dates and registering the political parties and enforcing the model code of conduct and overseeing the entire electoral process. So basically, these are the crucial roles which were taken up by the Election Commission of India. That is, setting the election date, at what date the election is going to happen, and registering all the political parties and enforcing the moral code of conduct. That is how the people have to be, how the representative has to be, and how the candidates have to behave, and all these things, and the amount of money they have to do, and what are the rules in the campaigns, and all these things will include in the model code of conduct, and overseeing the entire electoral process. Is it happening free and fairly as well? So here we can see the Election Commission of India at the national level, the state level, and at the district levels. So in the national level, we have the Chief Election Commission and 2 election commissioners. And the state level, we have the Chief Electoral Officer And at the district level, we have the election officer and the returning officer, that is the RO, who conducts the elections, and the electoral registration officer, who manages the voter list. So even here also we have the division for a proper organizing. So who works at the national level, who at the state, and who at the grassroots, that is the district levels. So there is also a person who manages the voter list and who conducts elections, and on top of this we have the district election officer, and for the state to look over everything we have the chief electoral officer, and for the national level we have the chief election commissioner, and under him we have the 2 election commissioners. So now we'll be citing about the managing the electoral process. So managing elections in India is a mammoth task. It is a very challenging thing, and the ECI has been upgrading its capacities to keep pace with the needs of the modern India in conducting free and fair elections, because always there will be an increase in the number of voters and there will be an increase in the work which has to happen. So the Election Commission in India has to keep in pace with the modern needs of people. So even the lives of people have changed, and even the Election Commission has to evolve itself to keep in pace with the needs of the people, and making sure that even the people would have a smooth transition during the elections. And the electoral system is a massive and it needs to work efficiently. And we take example of the Lok Sabha elections to illustrate it. Note that the elections to the state assemblies follow a similar process. So all the elections take place at different times but some periodicity. So either it is every year. Several polls are conducted in various parts of the country based on when they are due. So they are about, these are the important numbers you have to see. That is, we have 980 million voters about approximately, and we have 543 parliamentary constituencies and over 1 million polling stations. So as you can see, the numbers are very large, and many people are deployed to assess the whole process, including the teachers are also there, government officials are also there, because it requires lots of people to involve to conduct the election smoothly. There is a requirement of manpower to do efficiently. So see, the elections, say even the state assemblies, they follow certain criteria. Either it will happen for every 5 years, both for the MLAs and the MPs together, or they'll be happening at the different periods, and all these things will be happening. So each and every year, any of the places in all of India will have to conduct elections. So the ECI would be responsible to do this. So this is the process of voting for Lok Sabha. So first, it is that the polling officer, who is the person who checks the name of the voter and the ID proof that is the person who came to vote, is the person who is having the vote. And next, the second is the polling officer is the inks finger and gives chit and takes your signature. So that is what you will be having on your index finger. That is the representation that you have voted. And then you take a chit and checks your finger, and then the nota, none of the above option is also available. If you are not interested in any of the candidates who are standing, then you can go for nota, and then press the button to vote on the EVM, the electoral voting machine, and you hear a beep sound, and also check the printed slip in the VVPAT. So this is the process in which you will be voting. If you ask your parents, it will be much better for you to understand. So until now, we have studied about how the election is done. So next part, we'll be starting with the model code of conduct.